Hello everyone. In this tutorial, I would like to briefly experiment like how we are going to utilize the graph and the GraphQL in fact by using this ScaffoldETH boilerplate for the repository that has been created by the Kevin. So let's start off forking the repository and just select this main. So like it would be duplicating the other branches other than the main. So fork in progress. Now I will have the local copy of it. So, and I would be able to switch into the graph, SolidIT the graph version. And let's clone the repository from here. First of all, yarn install, because currently I'm already in the correct folder. Then I am going to run. By the way, you will be noticing the folder structure a little different in here. So hardhat next.js is the standard folder structure which is coming out from the ScaffoldETH, but like SubGraph is the new one for us to play around with the graph. Local blockchain. So now it is running with the preset of the private keys, and we are going to deploy smart contracts that are being highlighted in here. This is deploy script, by the way, but the contract is in here. It's a basic Hello Builders. Parameters are, the statements are described in here. It stores a new greeting value and increase the total counter and stores that value in the smart contract, and that's it. So like, let's deploy this smart contract locally on our local blockchain. Additional command to run the basic functionality of the ScaffoldETH. So like it will be accessible by our local environment. So like right until now, there's nothing special related to the graph integration. So like after this step, it will be the graph implementation. But before that, let's see how the application is being displayed. Okay, this is the application. So when I grab some funds and say like 0 times and complete transaction, okay, let's keep on continue following the commands. So right now it requires a clean node. So when you go into the details of this clean node from here, in fact, the clean node is under subgraph. So like when you go into the subgraph from here, you will notice this clean node is a set of commands for like removal of data cached under some folder, graph node under detail folder to be removed in files and folders. So that is just a cleanup activity to have the nice housekeeping. Let's run that. And yarn run node is basically Docker compose up functionality. The command is going to be running. In order to run this command, you need to have Docker installed. So it's you can visit the website like so locally you need either of these files to be downloaded. I selected Apple Silicon, but like it comes with the file and then you download and you run, give some permissions, and eventually you will have something similar to this as a visual guideline. But of course it's run over the terminal, so like you don't need to have specific screen to be displayed, but you can handle all the functionalities in a terminal. But eventually you will have the Docker to be installed in your application. So let's go back into the preview, and after clean mode, yarn run node. So now it will spin up the Docker if we haven't downloaded the Docker instances. Because I have downloaded the Docker instances in the past, it's going to spin up these nodes. So like IPFS and Postgre images are being up and running immediately. So like database system is accept connections. So like now the connectivity between database and IPFS is happening. So you will see everything is going to be stable in a short while. And after that, we can create yarn local create. So now it creates the subgraph. How does it create the subgraph? Let's check. So we have local create function in here. It goes into the graph create functionality on specific port of this URL and deploy this contract. So then we should ship our contract. So it will basically copies a multiple of files into areas to create the subgraph. So now it has been up and running, and we can basically copy this file and see what has been created in here. This is the GraphQL interface where you can run some queries. Basically, you can think of like you're writing your SQL scripts onto the left, and you click on play button, and end results from the contract is going to be displayed on the right. So there's a simple query which we can test out. So this is the query, and when we run, the data returns 0 because like there was no data available at that time. Internal RPC error. Okay, I think I found the problem. So like I need to clear activity data. So now when I try to set something, yes, we were able to successfully get the transaction. And meanwhile, when we try to run the GraphQL in the past, right before executing these transactions, it was returning this message, which telling that the subgraph that we have created has not started to sync. Therefore, it was not able to provide any data to us. Okay, for some reason, when I try in incognito mode without having any caches, let me refresh the page. it shows the results, and when I navigate to the localhost 8000, so now I may able to complete the query. Let's write ourselves demo query, greeting, and if I'm not mistaken, sender and address. So when I run this query, it gives me the results in this format. So like I can basically access to this data with a simple query that I have created. So now let's close this down and go back to the file. So now, right now in the localhost 3000, we are displaying the data from the event registry in here. But instead, we can change that into the something else. Let's try to reshape the functionality in here. Yeah. So for example, it throws the address, it throws the sender. We can utilize timestamp. Yeah, created that, for example. So now it will give me the data, unique data point that was created at. So Gatsby, greeting count, I can highlight in greeting count. So this type of queries I can directly access without having multiple contract calls, and that's very unique experience that you can create. Finally, let's see how we can highlight, how we can create, how we can implement the changes. So like what we have tested in the GraphQL, we can run this execution in our code. So we go into the page. Yeah, there you go. And index. So now we have the table here. We have the table here. We are going to replace this table to the data coming from the not from the events, but like GraphQL connection that we have created over this over this URL in localhost. So let's follow the README over here. So basically, it tells us to use these imports. So after we complete these imports, we handle the query. Let's close down to the nearby the query. So like my query is getting the first 10 of the results and greeting, sender, and address. So we can add additional information as like created that in here. So then what we will do is to, because this is the query, you can think of like SQL code, and it will somehow need to convert it into the API endpoint, and this is the place where we are going to utilize. So it creates a use query functionality from the Apollo client from the graph, and then it will import the query that we have created, and either it fits in loading state, error state, or data, and we are going to showcase that. And finally, we would like to replace the table in this sense. Oh, sorry, let's do something like this, because like it contains the div for the events. So like now it's directly running from the GraphQL. So Let's see it. When I refresh new greeting, you can handle like TD greeting, and what was that? It was not greeting, but greeting sender. Create that. Yeah. Let's refresh. So now I'm able to see that data highlighted in here, and this is a basic introduction of how we can utilize it locally in our machine. So the next phase would be how we can extend our knowledge for the GraphQL for our contracts that has been deployed into the multiple networks.